The most damaging thing done, of course, was the murder of Charlie Kirk. And now the second most damaging thing we're looking at is Candace Owens burning down everything he built.
Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
What is going on here with Candace Owens and Erica Kirk is causing a lot of consternation to a lot of people. You finally, it looked like to me, had enough and went pretty nuclear about this. Why does it matter to you so much to do this?
Well, the simple answer is that there was a coalition that was built by many people with, this coalition had many different political views, but it largely coalesced around a populist pro-America movement. I myself grew up very liberal, very Democrat, and like many others, found ourselves more likely to vote Republican because we saw the Democratic Party as drifting away. One of the most powerful voices in uniting all of these forces was Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. I don't completely agree with everything Charlie said, nor Turning Point USA, but Charlie invited me and many others to debate those ideas. Even Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks was invited to come and speak at AmFest because Charlie understood only when we come together and have these conversations can we actually make this country better. Well, he was murdered, and it puts all of this coalition building in jeopardy. And this movement to try and help this country with not one singular political ideology, but many that overlap. And the most damaging thing done, of course, was the murder of Charlie Kirk. And now the second most damaging thing we're looking at is Candace Owens burning down everything he built and now having the gall to go after his grieving widow and his children indirectly, threatening their livelihoods, what Charlie built. It's a bridge too far. She's said many things that were increasingly, let's just call it, unhinged. And then finally, one day she said, pull your donations from this godforsaken organization, with a direct implication in her post saying that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by Turning Point USA, even saying in one clip that his friends would have had to have signed off on his murder. It seems like there is no depth too deep and no bridge too far for her to benefit her career and her show. She would even go after those who loved Charlie the most. And I have no problem with people questioning the official government narrative or what the FBI thinks, but claiming there's Egyptian planes flying around in Utah time, which he was incorrect about, claiming that these planes are landing at airports or black SUVs are pulling into federal buildings where it just so happens her lawyers also work. It has just come to the realm of nonsense. The U.S. military, she claims, is now involved in his murder. She has turned the very tragic murder of Charlie Kirk, and she has turned this political movement into a reality drama, true crime show where she treats us all like characters in a fictional show. And, you know, I think it's just gone too far.
Well, what happened? So just explain to people who don't know what happened to you.
So it was late Friday into Saturday morning, so this is between midnight and 1 a.m., a vehicle slowly approached our property here at Timcast and opened fire. It appears to have been driving just below this, relatively low the speed limit. It slowly comes in line with one of our buildings, fires a shot, speeds up, lines itself up with our studio, fires 2 more shots. This took place between midnight and 1 a.m. Saturday morning. Our security company, our security guards immediately registered them as gunshots, called the local sheriff, the police. They came out, cleared the incident, took a report, and left. I learned about this at the time, but not entirely clear what had exactly happened. The next day, we reviewed security footage, and oh yeah, this vehicle pulled up. It fired these shots. We're pretty flustered. We're actually going to be leaving this location because even with security, a fence, a perimeter, these things are getting out of hand. Now, this happened. It's terrifying. Following this, Candace has been apparently accusing me of fabricating the whole thing. And a man on the internet, some random guy, calls the wrong police department who says, we have no idea what you're talking about. It then goes viral among these people who follow Candace that the police said no such event happened and they have no idea what Tim Pool is talking about. And they say that proves it. However, journalist Cameron Higby then contacted the correct department, who said, yes, we have this police report on file. This happened. We came out, we cleared, et cetera. And then they said, Cam is now lying. So even when he shows the phone call where they say, yep, this actually happened, they say he's lying. Now we have TMZ confirming the police report in question, and they're still saying I'm lying. So a random guy calling the wrong police department proves I lied, and an actual statement from the police saying, yes, I filed this, our security company filed this report, and another journalist verifying it, 2 journalists, 3 actually, that's never enough for them. So we did, for on the uncensored portion of the show last night, play some of the audio of the shooting. But the reason we can't release the footage is that it shows the layout of our property, the location of our security implementations, potentially personnel, and that would compromise our already compromised security. So what I've said is perhaps once we are officially out of here, which may be in about a week or so, then upon reviewing it with security, we will release that footage. But we have already released audio for those. Her audience doesn't care. They want to believe the drama reality that Israel is paying everybody, that I'm secretly funded by insert random deep state organization, because we are characters in a drama she is producing, a reality TV show, a whodunit, and stay tuned for the next episode to see what comes next. The issue is that to host a show where we bring people in every day, we give it our address 4 or 5 times to various assistants and people, makes it relatively easy for people to figure out where we are. And then you have the general security costs of keeping bad people out. We've had run-ins with creepos. We've had stalkers. A man approached the property once saying he was sent by God to speak to me. And we have to pay men to come out here with guns and make sure these people don't get in. Now we have extra added costs following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which means as a normal media business, we have advertisements, we have sponsors, we have paying members, and we do very, very well, even with our general security costs. Now we have to reassess, can we do the show here if they're opening fire on us? How do we secure against things like drive-by shootings? And there's actually no way you can unless you restructure where you're doing work out of. One recommendation was a penthouse in, say, somewhere in Florida or something like that, because then no one can get in there, no one can actually shoot at you. The issue now is, following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the credible death threats that we have received, we are looking at a new artificial cost to do business, and that is high-profile security at our location. This can cost upwards of $2 to $6 million per year, depending on how extensive. I mean, I believe you already know this. I imagine you deal with it similarly. And it was reported that Barry Weiss has to spend, $10,000 per day for her bodyguards. As a media business, it's totally fine. We can handle the cost of cameras and staff and doing the show, and we all do fairly well. But now you add on the need for 24/7 bodyguards and multiple bodyguards, and that's money we don't have. So this means that Timcast IRL, our nightly show with guests who physically enter the property, we may have to reassess and restructure. That could mean we can't afford to do business this way. My family can't afford this. And especially with the increase in political violence going into a midterm year, we have to reassess the most appropriate way for me to do shows, which means maybe I go into more of a solo slot like I do in my mornings, and we don't do shows that are physical. That's a possibility. We're also having emergency meetings with our partners to figure out a way to, we're looking at economies of scale. Where can we bring in all the personnel to a single location so the cost of security is spread out among 10 people instead of one person, and then we can continue to work. So hopefully it doesn't come to any immediate termination or suspension of Timcast IRL, but that may be the case. We can't handle death threats that turn into physical manifestations, actual shots fired at our property.
No, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific, and it shouldn't be happening. And like you say, this has real-time consequences for people in terms of protection and security and all the rest of it. And for, not just for you, for your guests, everybody involved. It's outrageous. And for people to trivialize that or doubt it or whatever it may be, just compounds the problem, right? And it just fuels what I think is an increasingly big problem in America of just deliberate disinformation that's being spewed out for money.
I would encourage doubt of all people, of me or of anybody else. The issue is it's not actually doubt. It is zealotry.
Right.
I mean, Andy No, great journalist, got a press release from the sheriff department where they confirmed that our security called in the reports of shots fired, that a gray sedan had been circling the property. In all fairness, they said that we didn't turn over surveillance footage, so they couldn't substantiate the claims, but the report did happen. We played the audio on our show last night. We don't want to release the footage because it compromises the location of our cameras, security personnel. It shows the layout of the property, which would dramatically worsen an already bad situation. But it's not about doubt. It's about there's no amount of evidence that they are willing to accept because it is cult-like zealotry among people who don't want to believe this is reality.
Tim, I just want to ask you, just before I let you go, just because you've had an experience with this, I just interviewed Nick Fuentes and it blew up massively online. I'm not going to ask you about the interview. I just want to ask you one question, because you interviewed him with Ye and they walked out and so on. This debate about whether you should platform, whether I should platform people like Fuentes, what do you think about that?
We had Milo Yiannopoulos on, which generated quite a bit of controversy, and I had people criticizing me for hosting him. I think it's sunlight being the best disinfectant. We have to be robust and prepare in our ideas and be prepared for these debates. I actually think you did it is good work that you've done in hosting Nick Fuentes. I think people should interview and challenge him, and I know that you're facing, I don't know what the right word is for it, but people are certainly coming after you now in a negative way because you are willing to do so. I think Steven Crowder did a good job. If you want to interview Candace, Tucker, Milo, Nick, anybody, I think it's appropriate, and this is what we should be doing with these debates and conversations. So I applaud you for doing so.
So, Paul, good to talk to you, and it's very sobering what's been happening to you, and I hope they get to the bottom of who was doing it, and I hope that your business continues to thrive, because you're an important voice out there, and I thoroughly enjoy listening to you. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it.